Hi everyone, this is Eddie from Those Nervous Animals with my fancy microphone. We are having a Zoomcast, as you know. This is what you're tuning into. But what you might not know is that we're going to have a little Q&A afterwards on our Facebook page. If you want to be part of that Zoom, send us a DM and we'll send you the link to the Zoom. With whoever wants to be on board, obviously numbers will be limited. So DM us with your expression of interest in being a part of our question and answer Zoomcast, which will follow our launch video that you're going to see now. It's been pre-recorded so we could try to get everything in and introduce all the songs nicely and give everybody in the band a little chance to speak. So onwards and upwards. Enjoy. Condition I have at the moment.
Okay.
Do you remember that? I used to remember that.
Hold on. Get my iPad
Oh,
together.
hang on.
Okay.
We might if the weather gets better.
Do you hear about the weather?
No.
Snow and hail on the way and freezing conditions. The temperatures are going to plummet 12
Like,
degrees.
we're done
Hey!
Sorry. Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
Are we on? We are.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Yes.
And hello to the band. We are Those
Hello,
Nervous
Eddie.
Animals.
Hello.
This is the official Mission Sessions launch. The album is called The Mission Sessions. It is an album that you don't want to pronounce after a few pints. Not that any of those are available at the moment. This is an album that took a very long time to make, obviously, for various reasons. It's very much a labor of love. In a way, we have, on and off, admittedly, have spent most of our lives making it. When our labors in the 1980s didn't come to fruition, I guess you could describe it, we were pretty devastated. We had built up a big fan base in Ireland, and a lot of people saw how original and beautiful our music it was. Personally, like I've said this before, biggest regret was not that we hadn't become rich and famous pop stars, and that probably would have killed us anyway. But we never got to make that album. And then life took over, and after several reunions and sporadic fun times, it finally took a pandemic for TNA to finally make an album of material that we are all happy with, really happy with, actually. Who is we? Well, that's a good question, because there's 5 of us here who have been involved in the current lineup and in the making of this. There's a lot of other people involved as well, and we're going to talk about them as we go along. So, first of all, I suppose I have to heap praise on everyone here in this Zoom session, for it is they who brought this project to fruition. The most amazing and, in my opinion, Ireland's most underrated songwriter, Pádraig Meehan. Barry Brennan, whose velvet vocal performances have been the reason many people turned their radios up and their cassette players up and maybe their CD players up for a little while. Susan Rowland, she might be better known for the little voice saying John, but she has been a powerhouse, a force of nature in getting this album made, and contributes wonderful lead vocals and backing vocals throughout. And Tom Jameson, who not only played drums, but recorded a lot of the tracks, mixed them, some of them, co-produced along with the rest of us, all of our recent recordings, which comprise half of this album. And now we get on to the album, unless anyone else has anything to add to that. Hello, everybody. It's great to see lots of you on Facebook watching this. So the first track on the Mission Sessions is The Hypnotist. As far as I know, it was originally called The Hypnotist's House, Pádraig. Is that right?
I think it was.
I might even be registered with IMRO as The Hypnotist's House. I'm not sure originally. Anyway, it came out of a jam, came out of an onstage jam. Does any of you remember where it happened, where the original seeds of it happened?
I
think it was
remember
on
some.
Lindale.
Might have
I
been
rem-
Hennigan's, was it?
Yeah, I think so. You,
I
Barry,
remember
you
Could
can,
be.
I know that guitar part is yours, Barry. That ding 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 ding.
Yeah. I remember myself and yourself up in Eddie. I think Eddie, you must have been working with your father at the time. And myself and Park, we were just jamming away, and we come up with this up in, that Maharaboy place, was it Lindale?
Lindale.
Oh, in Lindale. Okay.
Yeah,
it was in
I
Lindale.
think that's
I
where.
remember that being in Lindale. That's right, Barry.
Yeah,
Good memory.
15 Lindale, where the hypnotist
yeah,
began.
and
Okay.
we were tinkling away after a big breakfast that was probably robbed out of Eddie's fridge.
Altenberg's
And the way we
food.
went.
Yeah.
Thanks for the fuel, Eddie.
yeah.
Excellent. Yeah.
I remember
so,
one
yeah,
thing. I remember one thing about it is that around that time, it was about, I think, 94 or something. You, Eddie, had got hold of a video about theremin, and we already used to play the song as a jam. Like, this song existed in sort of a jam with no particular. Barry used to make up words or whatever. And then myself and yourself got really interested in the theremin and that. In fact, the first song on the mission sessions and the last song are connected to that project, because the hypnotist, then the words were inspired by, and the chorus actually crops up in another song of ours, a waltz song where it goes into the clear blue sky, the Clara waltz. So that's how. So it's kind of slightly tangentially about your man Leon Theremin.
Yeah. That did become a bit of an obsession for us, didn't it, Park?
It is.
I mean, do you remember going to Oxford? Me and you went to Oxford.
We did. To
To
meet
the Chamber Music
Lydia.
Festival to meet Theremin's grandniece.
Yeah,
or great
Lydia
niece or
Kavanagh.
grandniece.
Lydia
Yeah.
Kavanagh. There she was with he's on her. She gave us.
She went on performing. We were minding her child, weren't we?
Yeah, well, she gave us her baby to mind, and
She gave us her baby to mind while she
Yeah,
was doing
we
the
were.
Barely
This,
didn't know you.
yeah, we were under this tree with this child. These little old ladies.
we were holding a theremin.
Yeah,
a
we were
mini
holding up.
theremin.
They would come up to, how old is he? And we would scratch our heads. We have no idea.
We've never seen him before. Yeah, that was an interesting.
We better move on to the next song, lads.
Yeah, we better. we might get the first half hour covered by introduction. Anyway, yeah. So this is a song that we've never played the same twice. It seems to be different every time we did it live. The bass and drum groove kind of remains constant, while Barry's guitar riff pervades throughout. Shamie McGowan always had fun in this one, like a little serial killer lurking in the shadows. While on this recording, Jerry Leonard guests very beautifully. He goes out all Adrian Belew on it with his brief burst of brilliance. And after that, seafood and kitchen accidents pervade. This is the hypnotist.
Yeah.
Everyone is going to the hypnotist house, and everyone is checking the hypnotist word.
She's a person that's giving people instructions. Now he's brave, now he's fair. Oh, look at his raincoat and his tiny little fingers.
If you were you and I was me, we go to the party. If you were you and I was me, it's just like life. Someone in this room doesn't want to be moved. I see somebody in this room doesn't want to be cured. Keep your eyes on the moving object.
Keep your eyes on the
Moving object.
Yep.
The next song on the album is a thing called The Business Enterprise, My Friend John, and Susan is going to tell you about that.
Well, as good as my memory can recall, I think this is the third time My Friend John, The Business Enterprise, as it's more correctly called. I always called it My Friend John. I think a lot of our fans do too, still. This is its third outing because I was only an absolute whippersnapper the first time around, brought up to Dublin in the back of your van, Eddie Lee, I believe.
God.
Or maybe it was the back of a bike. Anyway, up to record it in a posh place. Wasn't that right? Where did we go to record it the first time?
Windmill.
Lombard.
Oh, was it
Was it-
Lombard?
Was it
No.
Lombard? I wasn't sure. Was it Windmill or Lombard?
Oh, it was
No, it's
Lombard,
Lombard.
Eddie. You're right. I
Yeah.
beg your pardon. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
So that was amazing. Like to start, that was one of my first recording experiences. So that wasn't a bad place to start with Bill Whelan, of course, and Philip Begley. But yeah,
And Christy on drums, Christy
and
Behan.
Christy, that's right,
Yeah.
Eddie. Yeah. And I remember you and me in a hot little booth trying to sing all the backing vocals together and keeping them really tight. And you being so
That's-
tall and me being
That's
so
a very
little.
sweet memory, actually.
Well,
I
it
have
is.
fond
And I'm
memories
not
of
sure
doing
was
that.
I trying to jump up or you were trying to bend down, but we met somewhere in the middle anyway and got the vocals sorted. I do.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a sore point for me because everybody goes, "Oh, who's the girl who goes John all the time?" And I say, "What the? There was two girls in it. There was me and Susan."
I think you're talking about me, Eddie. Yeah, of course. There's a lot of girls. There's a lot of girls in the band, actually.
Big girls' blouses, yeah.
Yeah, but then again, of course, that was the first outing. That was fabulous. And my claim, I always said, look, I never needed to know how to drive. I didn't even need a passport. I just had to say that I was the little girl who sang John in the back of that song. And that got loads of doors open for me with that one. So seriously, huge song, really, wasn't it? I mean, it was like currency and still is. And then, of course, in 2002, Tom Dunn gave it another outing in Today FM on his record there.
Oh, yeah.
And had that lovely night. Do you remember we did a lovely gig in the Olympia?
Yeah.
One of our many
Yeah. That was
reunions.
nice.
And I remember the crowd there singing it back to us. God, the atmosphere that night was incredible, wasn't it? And then, of course, now it's thankfully
That was
been remastered.
Probably the last gig we did.
Actually, I think that might have been the last gig that I did with you guys anyway.
Yeah.
It could have been. Oh my God, that's mad. But anyway, it sounds really beautiful now after Mr. Glasser got his hands on it, along with the rest of the whole album. It's sounding majestic now. I think actually he brought your vocal up a little bit, Eddie, so we can bury the hatchet.
Oh, really? No, he did an amazing job. I think that particularly for me, that the difference in the remastering came out with the bass sound on My Friend John. It's just ridiculous. It just hops out of it. No matter what kind of a speaker you're listening to it on, it just hops out. It's really, really good. I still haven't been able to get a sound that good since 1984.
I don't know. I actually think the bass is sounding incredible across the whole entire album.
Oh, thank you, Susan.
I really, really do. I think it sounds fabulous. Really class. In fact, I
A
think
lot
the
of
whole
different
album
basses
is
on it
class.
now.
I mean, it only
Over
took
the
40
years.
years, but like, who's who's quibbling? Everything worth doing takes a long time to get right, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
Any
nothing
other
great
thoughts
is easy.
on My Friend John. Well, I tell you, it's the one song that everybody associates us with.
True, yeah.
Sometimes when we've been talking to people recently, I think they just they don't remember anything else. It's the one big song, Barry. What's your take on it?
My friend John.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh yeah, you're correct in saying that. Like the association is immediately Sligo, immediately us. You know, with My Friend John and the usual questions like who is John and
Who is John? Who is John anyway?
You know, and like in my grasp of it, like through as much as I got from Porrick, in return to a question would be, I mean, it's like Mary and Tom, no, not you, Tom, but, you know, like the Tom, Dick, and Harry, or Tom, Dick, and Barry.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
But I think there were a couple of John characters, weren't there? Broadly
It's just an arbitrary name. Pardon me.
Was there a couple of characters, Pádraig? Was there a couple of people that maybe you had in mind?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I think that song got written. We had hooked up with Bill Whelan, and we were rehearsing in the Blue Lagoon and out in the venue. They were very kind to giving us the room, and I met this guy whom we all know. He used to drink in Hennigan's, and he was a writer and a poet. Unfortunately, sadly, he's since passed away. And he had just set up a business, and he was all dressed up in a pinstripe suit, and that really was the very start of it. I wrote.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote a set of lines when I went home. That was the first thing, and I think I told Barry and Eddie like that I had something, but they didn't. At that stage I had just the verse chords on the thing. And there's other Johns, but it's about 4 people. Willie Conlon was possibly an inspiration. John Sabari, John Rooney, and this other guy. They'd be the main people that would be about.
So he was a very
We all know
schizophrenic
it is
individual.
Yeah, he was the kind of composite.
Yeah.
And Barry came up with that keyboard riff, didn't he? That bizarre intro. Like it
it's
is quite weird.
I've
I've since tried to figure out exactly what it is.
It's
and
annoying.
It's cool. It's
Yeah.
very memorable.
That riff is very memorable, and Shimmy McGowan's
It was-
guitar lick in the chorus is another
Yeah,
crucial part of it.
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
Shamey is on that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, Cathal Hayden's
retrospect's
on it,
overdone.
percussion too. So
Oh yeah, the percussion was so of the time, wasn't it?
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's very sparkly now with the mix. So.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah. Do you remember we did a version on not Live Aid, Self Aid, which is on YouTube for all to
Yeah.
see with our mullets. And there was some issue with the sound. Do you remember that Bill Whelan rang in a panic one morning?
There was no guitar,
Because
was it?
they were making the album of Self Aid, or they were putting it out, and one of the guitars disappeared. Was it your guitar, Pádraig? I think it might have been.
Pádraig's guitar.
Disappeared in the mix, and somebody had to be called in Dublin to come in and play guitar on it for the Self Aid album.
That was a very different band. I mean,
And I think it was Des Moore
could
ended
be
up
Des-
playing on it in the Self Aid album. Bill organized it.
yeah, I mean, when you think about that moment, the band was quite different. We had John Donnelly drumming, and we had Dennis Woods on keyboards in that live one.
And
Helen.
Helen Walsh was singing.
Helen
back.
Walsh, yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, my friend John.
My friend John had a plan, said he'd never go away again. He stays up every night just to get the detail right. He says when you make a plan, you gotta put your best job in. I'd sweep the floor, I'd set the clock away, the impossible. My friend John, don't you know it's hard for me? My friend John, I think you've got yourself a deal. I like the sound of this business enterprise. I like the sound of this business enterprise.
Well, that's my friend John. So I think it's over to Tom now. Tom Jemison.
Hello.
You're going to talk to us about the next song on the album, which is Clubs.
Clubs. Yeah, clubs. So clubs, I think I heard clubs for the first time shortly after I joined the band, which was 1987, I want to say, which would make me the kind of Ronnie Wood of the band, only here for the last 34 years. And so I was living at home at the time in Offaly, and I used to come up here every time we were rehearsing or doing a gig, and I'd stay with Eddie over in Lindale. And because I suppose this is a fairly family friendly and potentially libelous forum. We won't be going too much into that. But we used to listen to a lot of music up there. And anyway, one day Eddie produced this cassette of a recording of a gig at the Bag Inn that she did a few years before, and Clubs was one of the songs on it, and it really stood out to me. I remember really saying, "Oh, what's that song? That's really great." And Eddie would say, "Oh, that's Clubs." And I remember pestering you after that at rehearsals to play it, and I think he played it a lot, and I think you were fed up with it. But I kept saying, "Come on, we'll play it," and we never really kind of agreed on an arrangement on it, so it kind of fell by the wayside. And fast forward many years, I think maybe 2013 or 14, we were doing one of our irregular reunions, and we played a gig in the Strand. I think it was on New Year's Eve, and Pádraig suddenly decided he wanted to do a new version of Clubs, and he did a complete rearrangement of it. And basically that became the template for this song, for the recorded version. And added to that was that Christy Bean had found a demo version of Clubs that he did many years ago with Bill Whelan, piano on, and he'd sent that to Pádraig. So basically the new version of Clubs became a fusion of the Bill Whelan version and the rearranged version that Pádraig did. And we kind of mashed the two together, and that became the current version of Clubs. And I still love it. And it's a bit of it's maybe not a kind of an instant song, maybe not immediately grabbing you, but I think it's a grower. It's a great song.
I just remembered something that not on the B-side of My Friend John.
I think it is, Eddie. It was on the same recording session, anyway, in Lombard.
Yeah.
With Bill at the piano.
Maybe some of the people out there can tell us if it's on the B-side of My Friend John. I'm sure a few of you might have the original single, the vinyl. One thing I could add to that, Tom, is that this new version of Clubs, it's the first time it's first time in years that I've come on a bass line that I absolutely love.
I love the bass
line. That I really loved. It was the first time in a long time that I did something that satisfying. And it was probably due to the pandemic, and I was sitting at home on my own, and I had plenty of time to work on it and figure it out and come up with something that I thought worked. So that was one of the most satisfying ones on the album for me.
Yeah,
of the new material.
Yeah.
What my friends don't know is that I've joined a club, and I never leave, no. I'll fight the night fright with familiar faces. I'm beginning to feel much safer. Some place, speak a language that no one understands. We play some game, we haunt some place, speaking a language that no one understands. If you join a club, join a club. There's new life in my bones since I've joined this club, and I've discovered me, yeah. All their favorite jokes, I know them off by heart, so I always know when to laugh. Now we go somewhere, on some place, speak a language that no one understands. We can play some game on some place, speaking a language that no one understands. Join a club, join a club, join a club, join a club,
So that's clubs, and I'm going to hand it back to Eddie because he's going to talk about Rocket Ship. Another great
Rocket
song.
Ship. Yes. The original was in, when was it, Porrick?
90, I would have said
93, was it?
93.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We brought out a single then, isn't that right?
That's right.
Sort of an
On
attempted
Dance Line.
reunion single. Dance Line Records, that's right.
Yeah.
And this version on the Mission Sessions is a new recording of Rocket Ship. I mixed it and played bass on it. Maybe some of the backing vocals, I can't remember. Did I do any backing vocals on this? David Glasser again did wonders with the mastering. It was a big funky addition to our live set. One of those funk grooves that you think might be too slow to be funky, but when we nailed it, then it was just sits in your pocket like a dirty movie that you know you shouldn't be there, but you just can't resist it. You know, one of those. Q Egan, I think he made it really by that guitar riff that he came up with on the original one, and I said that's an awfully nice riff, Q. He's an awfully man. Okay. Niamh Kavanagh actually sang. Here's fun facts. Niamh Kavanagh, one of Ireland's Eurovision winners, sang on the original demo of this.
Barry was away. You were away that time.
But of course, when Barry arrived on the scene, he made it his own. Is there anyone else on this? It's just I think it's just
Dara Connolly, Eddie. Dara
Connolly was
on the original, but
one, yeah.
on this particular recording, it's just ourselves.
It's just ourselves, yeah.
Yeah.
Rocket Ship.
Yeah. That's right. I remember just back from I think it was Germany.
Oh yeah, you were away in Germany, yeah.
I've been watching you from Skateboard Prospect, waiting for Stevens Day. I want you to share my sense of humor when I take your clothes away. Getting over this fascination, it's not so hard, but picture this situation. Can you picture this situation? You've been building a rocket ship out in your daddy's farm. You set your sights on Sirius and you're keeping those engines warm. I love your strangeness, I love your charm. Keep a seat on a rocket ship for me. The little details never fit into the bigger picture. Till today you've never been late, and who's that strange one with you? The little details just don't gel, but I will never sell out to listen. When I pass you in the street, I'm keeping the safest secrets that you've been building a rocket ship way out on your daddy's farm. You set your sights on Sirius and you're keeping those engines warm. I love that strangeness, I love the charm. Keep a seat on that rocket ship for me. Yeah.
pass it on to what's next?
Barry.
Barry and Insomnia.
Okay.
Um,
We have to give Luke a mention, of course, now. Barry is going to introduce the next song in the album, which is Insomnia. Over to you, Barry.
Insomnia, yeah. Well, my recollection of Insomnia was on a beautiful sunny summer's day out in Robbie Cribb's house with Porrick, and we said, oh, such a lovely day, let's go outside into the yard, and took the guitars out, and we this little Dr. Rhythm drum machine, and we were playing around with it for a bit. But Porrick had these beautiful words that like a poem, and read it out to me. He says, "Will we try and make some song out of this?" And we tinkled away for those glorious afternoon hours, and I just took the guitar up, and Porrick said some words and blah blah, and we came up with some melodies for Insomnia. I remember one. Well, we recorded it obviously out there, but and it developed it over time to as it is today, recorded. But I remember one line that stuck out funny to me in ways was with those eyes of stone, and it reminded me of when we used to play marbles and toys outside on the road in the early days of my youth, and the marbles reminded me of Porrick's line about people's eyes, and now if I think about it, it keeps me awake at night thinking about like how could you be tossing old people's eyes down like marbles down the street. Oh, that's a bit bizarre, but that's supposed to be funny. Me trying and making up a joke about staying awake at night. It keeps me awake at night. Insomnia, blah blah blah. All right, I didn't put that across to you. Yeah.
Maybe about this recording of it, Barry. There was a little bit of a glitch, wasn't there? We were going to use the original, and something was wrong with the original master.
Yeah,
and we ended up banging it out in the studio very quickly.
So that's right. Yeah. Yes, I should have mentioned that. What exactly was there were some glitches in the sound, like when it was through the remastering process, which had to be, we weren't going to let it out as it was, because it was just a very annoying glitch in the remastering process. So we went down to Luke Devaney's, and it was almost Christmas, wasn't it, Porrick? I think it was Christmas Eve. Almost Christmas Eve.
It was Christmas Eve, I think. Yeah.
And we said, let's just do a new recording of it, just in case the remastering hasn't been rectified. So down we went anyway.
It wasn't sorry, Barry, I just interrupted you. It wasn't the remastering that was glitch.
Sorry.
The error was in a transfer that was done in the 80s, which had carried through every reproduction afterwards of the original version. So that's why we needed to revisit it. Yeah.
But it was more noticeable in the remastering.
Yeah, exactly, Barry.
Sorry, I didn't. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that's right. So we went down to Luke's, and we did a re-recording of it there, and thankfully we did, and thanks to Luke, did a marvelous job. Like a short notice to go in and play keyboards on it, and it is as it is now on the album.
Yeah, you did a great vocal on it, Barry. We literally had only about an hour, and you did it in one take, and it was just again, like as in the old days, myself and Luke were in the control room, just sat back, and my God, you just were on fire, and you just did it and put down the guitar. Oh God, that was it.
I surprised myself for it, because I hadn't been singing very much, like obviously through this, and even prior to that, like, and we might just be asked up to guest in a song here and there if I was out listening to in town, and I was guested up with a song or two. So I haven't been doing a lot of singing. So I actually surprised myself that I was able to do it at all. But I'm quite pleased with it, actually.
Yeah,
pleased with it.
Stunning. It was stunning.
we have to acknowledge the Luke
That's more or
Devaney.
less
Yeah,
Zombie, yeah.
Luke Devaney and Philip Begley and David Lasser really went out of their way over Christmas to work on this, and the goodwill of people was just jaw-dropping, and we were so appreciative of all that support.
And Luke, of course, plays the keyboards on it.
And Luke plays
So-
keyboard and a little bit of
And does a little bit of Did he do a bit of BVs as well?
BVs. He does a
Yeah.
great impersonation
Backing
of Barry.
vocals.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Fair play to you, Luke.
Yeah, he's a great
He's an
voice.
excellent job.
Very talented
Otherwise,
lad.
we would have to go back out again and record it on during Christmas Day or something.
The old soul searchers have eyes of stone, and when they're rooting among their summer duties, there's no sleep or snow. We watched the cars and tulips grow. We recommended doctors to go to and pills to take if you lie awake. We made a conversation and lived on either side of it. Lived there for 40 evenings, brown on your side, blood of mine. Talked about the weather, I refused to let them. Oh, how could I refuse? The old soul searchers with those eyes of stone, and when they're rooting among their summer duties, there's no sleep or snow. We made a conversation and lived on either side of it. Leaned there for 40 evenings, brown on your side, blood on mine. We watched those cars and tulips grow. We recommended doctors to go to and pills to take if you lie away.
Are you ready, Porrick?
Go.
You ready?
Go.
Okay, I'm going to hand you back to Porrick now, and Porrick is going to talk to you about Damien. Damien.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you very much. That's brilliant.
You're welcome.
Yeah, well, that reminds me of some of the gigs where you dressed up in the most outrageous things, and it's always like a highlight. Yeah, Darien is a very old song. I think it was one of the very first songs that we started doing. You were talking about insomnia there. I think I wrote it I was in the mission when I wrote it. Vinnie Higgins gave me a the loan of a 2-track a little tape recorder, and that could change the speeds on. And I was recording these chords and singing sort of notes over them, and that over the F sharp minor. That was the thing that started messing around with that. And I remember running to my girlfriend at the time. She became my wife and the mother of Naomi, Noreen, who used to live in the house with us. My ex. I remember she was like, Noreen, I'm after writing a brilliant song. I was just like, again, go away. But, yeah, so like if we'd been sort of doing it as a kind of folky version of it for a long time until we met Eddie then, and the thing was to try and integrate it into the sort of Nervous Animals aesthetic, if you like. And the way that came about was, I think, a jam with U2, Eddie and Barry, and maybe Brian Despard or something. I remember coming into a session in Lytton Lane, and I landed late. I was in traffic, and you were jamming away with this, ding dong ding dong ding diddle ding ding dong ding dong dong ding ding. That's what I recall anyway. And I just tried singing those. After it took a while, but I had the idea to do the Damien chords over it, and Eddie's ideas on rhythm. Then the syncopation, that drum and bass part, I think was the completion of it, I suppose. Yeah. So I mean,
it's kind of a late to the party bass line, isn't it?
Yeah.
He kind of goes, "Oh, it started. Okay."
yeah. Where's the bass?
Yeah.
I think we'd recorded it quite a few times. We recorded it, me and you, Barry, I think recorded it out in Robbie's again, like we just said with Insomnia. And then after that, we did it with Mike Kelly, and we did it with
Christy Behan on drums.
With Christy Behan on drums, and then we did it with Jerry Gallagher as well.
We did, yeah. And that was very slow version too.
Very slow with them.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, very slow, laid back version. Yes.
Yeah, but
it's one of those songs, though. I think you could do a lot of different versions of it, and they'll all be good. Like
the one that we do live has programmed drums on it, and then some drumming by Brian Despard as well, and it has Helen Walsh singing backing vocals, and Dara Connolly on keyboards, and that was produced by Donald Lunny. So we've done quite a bit. We've done work already with Donald out in Nicky's. And
Nicky Ryan's,
I should say, out in Eagle. And so Donald came in. Well, you found your diary lately with the actual details of the day in August 1986. We actually recorded on the 8th of August 1986.
Yeah. I remember Donald was great. He just sort of dropped in. I think Nicky asked him out to Eagle Studios when we were working with Nicky on some new stuff. And I remember we were doing actually Can't Resist a Mystery. And Donald was he kind of came in and started producing.
He did.
In a way, he was throwing ideas at us and sort of filtering the ideas that were there already. And I think that's why we asked him to do the Damien one, because he just seemed to have such an affinity for the music.
He did.
Yeah, despite fabulous. I mean, he's a trad. He's mostly obviously associated with trad music, but he's so versatile and
well, then there was another connection.
It just transfers every way.
Because he was a good friend of Bill Whelans, and Bill had been involved with Planksty, and at one point Kevin Flynn out of the venue in Strandhill had managed Planksty, so we ended up having a momentous night in the venue to celebrate that fact with the full crew.
We better not go into too much detail. I think the guards arrived. The guards arrived as far as that was the last thing I remember anyway. I think we were all booting out the back door.
Yeah, a famous sound engineer got stuck halfway out the window trying to escape. But I think that's it with Damien. I keep moving on. I'll hand you over. We're going to play a little bit of Damien for you. And now I'm going to hand you over to Tom, who's going to talk a little bit about the polar bear.
The polar bear. The polar bear. I think one of my former bands was Auto da Fe, and so I had a connection with Trevor Knight. So at some point, the Animals were looking for a keyboard player. We were short of a keyboard player, and I suggested maybe I'll ask Trevor, and I asked him, and he was delighted to do it. So Trevor then became kind of a de facto Animal and was involved in many kind of little bits and pieces that we did over the years. And Polar Bear is one of them, and he helped produce it, and he played keyboards on it. And I don't know much about the lyrics. I don't know, is it from Porrig's feated imagination, or is it actually based on reality, or is it a mixture of the two? But yeah, it's about a poor old polar bear, and poor old traumatized polar bear in Dublin Zoo, and her psychosis. And yeah, that's what I know about the polar bear.
Yeah, we used to go, when we were children, we'd go on school tours to the zoo. It was from Croghan School. And you'd always go and you'd see the polar bears, and the polar bears stuck in my mind because they looked so miserable. And it was sort of this mechanical motion. It was like pacing behavior or whatever, I know myself and Eddie talked about it quite a bit. And at that time, that was, I think, around about 2003 or 2004. The name of that bear was Spunky. It was a female bear, and it was let go then out of the zoo. The zoo got rid of its bears, and she was taken to Hungary. I think she had a happier rest of her life in a bigger space where she was able to roam freer. And the other aspect of that song was that on the way down, Trevor who produced the session, Trevor Knight, came, and he brought his mini disc with him. And on the way, every time he stopped at the station, you heard this great Sligo accent announcing which station you were at, arriving at Longford, whatever. And it was fabulous. And he was a man called Paddy Cox, who was a real character of CIE. And he used to wear, wasn't it a carnation? Was it? He used to wear a red flower, red carnation in his lapel. And so Trevor recorded him, and he came in, and we had the groove going for the track. Like, we'd gone a good bit with the track, and he just put that on, and it was as if Paddy was absolutely clocked for the beat of the song, because he was sort of saying it in a sing-along kind of voice. So we included Paddy as well.
The roll of the train. Yeah.
Another thing I remember about that song was recording some of the drums up in Eddie's dining room up in Cleaver Road.
That was recorded at Eddie's house. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Wow. It's mad to think, all right.
Yeah. That was 2003 that was recorded. And
just a long time ago. My God.
Yeah. It was a song that was included on the album Simpatico, which was put out in memory of our friend Finian Corrigan, who passed away at that time. So
yes,
yeah.
There is a mad polar bear in Dublin Zoo. She walks a 10-foot circle, rocking fro and two. Looks real dirty in the snow. Looks real
So that's the polar bear. And we're going to go to Susan. Is it for Bird? You're going to talk
That's
about Bird.
right.
Yeah, with
I'm
Susan.
delighted to talk about Bird. Yeah, Bird, a huge big song that goes back, doesn't it? It goes back. It predates those nervous animals, if that's possible. Because I think it started out life in another incarnation of us called No Liberace, which would have involved all of us at one point or other. Is that right?
I think
Barry,
I wasn't
you
part of
weren't
it
a No
myself.
Liberace.
No,
No.
no piano left.
Yeah, so yeah, but Porrick and Eddie and Tom, you certainly were there at some point or other, as was
Yeah.
Delilah,
Yeah.
he,
Liam
and
Bradley.
Liam Bradley, that's right. And of course we had Mario Ngoma on
Yeah.
percussion,
Yeah.
and
Cute-
And
cute.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Hagan on
Guitar.
guitar. Phenomenal. Great band, another great band. But Bird
Liam,
anyway.
Liam Bradley played with us sometimes as well.
That's right. Yeah, I think I've covered everybody. Yeah, I remember that arts festival gig, and I think Vinnie Higgins was doing stellar work, trying to
Yeah.
keep it all together on the desk. Yeah, that was great. But Bird anyway is a song from back then, and when you played Bird for me first, Porrick, I was really struck by it because you explained to me it was about Muhammad Ali, you know, the greatest. And I have a huge big link to boxing because my granddad, who was, you know, this big man sitting in the corner, pontificating to everybody, who I was very close to. And he used to let me sit up late on his knee watching these boxing matches. And he was very pleasant to me then. And I was thinking, oh my God, boxing's so cool. So I remember watching Muhammad Ali in black and white. Everyone had to be quiet. It was really exciting. Probably 1974. So I'm kind of reckoning I missed, you know, sort of the Sonny Liston period because I wasn't born then. But later on in the 70s, I remember it really magical. So when you presented that song, I could just see Muhammad Ali there, and you remember all his sort of spoken word poetry. You know, I'm the greatest, and what have I got here? I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean, I make medicine sick. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. His hands can't hit what his eyes can't see. And you know, he's attributed with influencing, you know, really early hip hop artists. And did you know he was nominated for 2 Grammys?
No.
Yeah, nominated for 2 Grammys. Honestly, one was for a cover of "Stand by Me," and another one was of his spoken word poetry. It was called "I Am the Greatest." So there you go. He was the greatest.
Wow.
So I
That is
love that
amazing.
song, and of course the session was incredible. We were down in Paul Gurney's, wasn't it, in Longford?
Yeah.
In Longford, yeah.
Oh wow! And Trevor was around then. Am I
Yeah.
right? Trevor was very instrumental with Bird, and we had a beautiful string arrangement.
That's
Yeah.
right. Annie
Slowly,
Houston was
And
involved in
Houston,
doing
wasn't
that.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anne
Oh.
Houston and Niamh Crowley and
Yeah, everybody was there.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Francis Bell
Good man, Eddie. That's right. She
I
played
think.
viola.
played the strings.
Beautiful. It kind of really
I did the
elevates-
string arrangement originally, but I think it was probably tweaked along the way.
Yeah, Anna had a hand in it. She came in with parts.
Anna tweaked it for the purpose of the people who could read.
Yeah,
music,
I mean, I
which
think
couldn't
the
really
idea
at
of
the
it
time.
came from a riff that we had developed with the ding, 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 ding. That was the kind of idea,
Yeah.
and it developed from that.
Yeah.
the last reference I wanted to make to was something you mentioned to me really recently, Porrick, about the mood of it when we were looking at, you know, and you mentioned the word mercy. And it was kind of interesting because my whole perception was about, you know, the greatest and the fighter, but actually, you know, that whole concept of mercy and how can you win, you know, how can you lose when you always win? So it's really interesting lyric in that song.
How can you
Like
learn,
all your songs.
Yeah. How can you learn is right. I
How
mean,
can you learn,
those were
yeah.
the 2 lines. One of them was, you know, I bet I can hold my breath. I bet if I hold my breath, we can stay this way forever. That sort of sense of freezing a moment in time,
Yeah.
like an old photograph. You realize that 73 is, you know, different from 1974 or the day after, the day before. It's like a moment frozen, and it's kind of opposite for this moment, you know, where we're doing something now, and even this moment and this period that we're doing this in will never come again either. So we're just in a particular moment with everything.
It's interesting though, because time has frozen, but we haven't. You know, with the pandemic, time has frozen, but we're really busy, which is a fantastic opportunity for us. Would this have ever happened if we hadn't had a pandemic? Who knows?
Maybe not. Maybe not.
They really facilitated it. Put it that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, it did.
True.
I'm still waiting for you to do the underwater video for this, Susan.
Well, I think you might see some reference to bubbles. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, cool.
I emulate bubbles for you, Eddie. Oh, and I actually have other bubbles here, so yeah. I think is that bird? Are we?
That's bird.
Yeah, the bird
Yeah.
is flying.
Yeah.
Okay.
The whole world is in the center of my fist, and we know the future. We're gonna fly to a desert training camp with a game plan to lose the moves and bruise your body wants to do automatically. A bird came in the room of Muhammad Ali while he was there reclining. His eyes were half closed, but he wasn't asleep. He was talking with his good friend Bandini. For all I know, not a word of this is true. How can you dance without the wind in your hands? How can you laugh when your heart is full? How can you learn when you always win? Mercy for the beaten bull. How can you dance without the wind in your hands? How can you laugh when your heart is full? How can you learn when you always win? Mercy for the beaten bull. Bird, a headache in the darkened room. Is that what you have become? Just a headache in this darkened room. Is that what you have become? What is this act of life? Are we all just trancing through? What is this act of life? Are we all just trancing through?
So then it's
Beautiful. I
over
love
to
it. Gorgeous song.
Barry, who's going to talk to us about just what the sucker wanted.
Just what the sucker wanted. Wow, my God, that's a memory going back beyond my grasp at the minute. It was almost like a two-chord trick, Porrick, in a way, wasn't it?
Wow.
The most of the song was. Again, my memory would be just letting it jam, us jamming away, and a melody like that. If it is not enough to feel is one of the kind of catch line that.
That was your line. That was your
that
line.
just
Yeah.
that I came up with, and basically the rest is yours, Porrick. You know.
It was a
in that-
jam again. Like it was a jam in that period where we were. I mean, Eddie had an influence on me in terms of you know, having less chords and less changes and funk and grooves like that. I was just trying to write towards that, I suppose. We had got a bit of gear. I remember I had this Hofner. Billy Robinson had sold me this keyboard. It's a string machine, and you used to play it, Barry.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yeah, yes, yeah.
It was one of those
Tinked
old
away at
keyboards
it
that
for
had
a
its
bit.
own. It had its own personality, didn't it?
It did. It was
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah,
And it's on all those old recordings. A lot of those those early 80s.
it's a bit like that
Yeah.
Mellotron thing, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah,
That's
similar.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had one of the things I liked about that song was that we had the bass line never really went where you thought it was going to go
No.
if you were just listening to the chords, because it was
Right. Because
it
it
was
changes
kind
the
of
chord.
going-
The bass line makes the chords
it
change.
changed the
That's
chords,
all.
yeah.
Yeah.
it made them slash
Yeah,
chords,
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I liked about it. It wasn't predictable that way.
Yeah.
It was unusual. But in
That's
some other
true.
ways, when we went and recorded it in Windmill, it became more predictable, I think, just in terms of the approach was very 80s. I think it's one of the few tracks, maybe even the only track that really sounds 80s still. Obviously it's a remastered version and it sounds fantastic, but I think obviously we had the whole 80s thing happening then with the snare drum. Tom, you know, you're a big fan of that 80s gated snare sound, aren't you?
Oh no, I don't know.
Winter comes, winter
Yeah, but
runs.
it's kind of
winter.
that's the
Yeah.
imprimatur of the 80s. That sound is just like that. As soon as you hear it, you just know where the song is
What era
from.
it's from.
It's a giveaway to this time for sure.
And the other real 80s thing about the sucker is the gated synthesizer.
The gated synth.
And I remember Bill Whelan and Philip Begley twiddling knobs on one of the outboard things in Windmill, trying to get it to gate at the right tempo, getting the clock from the track to go into it. That was very new at the time.
But you know, I have a confession. I have a confession to make about that song. Is that in the final mix, there was no such thing as automated mixes in those days. So when you were doing the final mix, we lined up the whole band along the console, and everyone had a line in the song because we were trying to basically ride those vocals to follow them. There mustn't have been any compressors in those days either. So we had to, and I had Barry's lead vocal, and I made a little duck when he goes, you know, at the very opening. And it still annoys me today. I can still hear the little tiny shift I make in the finger.
It's not a timing shift for you. I'm running through the city here. Oh shit!
Yeah. I'm running. And very, very dynamic as he is to this day. And he went, I'm running through the city. I went, oh.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's mad to think that this was before there was any automation. And that we were all like lined up at the mixing desk with our various jobs to do. Yeah, it's just incredible.
And it was the very first digital,
absolutely,
the very first digital recordings done in Ireland. Digital we thought was a great thing coming in, and and of course maybe it wasn't, but yeah.
And of course, you have to give a shout out to Maura O'Connell and Flo McSweeney as well.
Yeah,
thank you, Susan. And yourself on the vocals.
On the vocals, yeah. Another possibly quite 80s thing, you know. The black dress girls. I'll have to get a new black dress. I'll have to get a new black dress if we ever gig again. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. But no, that was dead. That's another song that people are very fond of. Fans are really fond of that.
Yeah. In fact, that was my introduction to Jan.
Was it? Yeah.
Because I was like a real fan of the band before I ever joined. And I was. And that's how I really wanted to join the band. And I remember I cornered Eddie at a party one night, and I told him, like, I told him, I'm the man playing with you. And he was as rotten as I was, and he was kind of willing to indulge me rather than telling me to go away.
I remember that actually. I do
Yeah,
remember.
it was a party out in Strand Hill, I remember. But yeah, I was a big fan of the band, and Sucker was my first introduction to the Animals. So I always
there's a little
for that song.
Somebody might remember Luther Vandross's Never Too Much. Never Too Much. You know that song? The band in the Sucker was very influenced by the bass line in that, as far as I remember. Or it was one of those things that I was listening to Marcus Miller. I'd only just discovered Marcus Miller, I think, at that time, and he played on that record, and it was like that kind of bass. I loved it, and I had a Music Man. I just got my Music Man off Billy Robinson, and that was the bass for that record. So I had to use it. It was one of the few things. One of the very few things that the slap bass on with the Animals.
Yeah.
Fingers in my ears, her heart is beating behind the steering wheel. The things I see, I only half believe. They're so entangled with the things I need, coming up from my toes, coming up from below. I feel you're holding the inside in, keeping the outside out. You're always asking why, keeping the outside out, holding the inside in. Your feet never touch the street, and if it's not enough to feel, and if I'm stranded out of rhyme, and if it's not enough to feel, and if I'm stranded out of reason, I'm running through the city, too slow to know you. Your heart is beating behind the control.
The next one. I was going to say before, near the end now, this is the last song, but there's a few people I wanted to mention before we go. The people who played with us, like Eddie Lynch, gigged with us.
Yeah.
Pascal Benejoud, Liam Gilmartin gigged with us on occasion. I'm sure there's loads of other people that I can't remember, but maybe people can write.
Carl Gertie,
Eddie, Steve McDonnell,
Steve McDonnell,
John Woods. Is it John Woods? Yeah.
Dennis Woods.
Dennis Woods, yeah.
John Donnelly.
John Donnelly, Barry.
What do you call him? John Tobin.
John
Tobin played some lovely piano with us. Indeed, well remembered. Indeed.
Absolutely, John.
And
fantastic.
Other people that we should appreciate as well as John Cook, who gave us the masters back and curated them all this time and supported us in those early days. And some of the other people that have been associated with, like Conor Kenneflick and Olin O'Brien, who did the Queer Groove thing and put out Hyperspace in 2018, which kind of was another thing that kind of revived the interest in the band. So Maria Murray is another person I wanted to mention because she did the design on the original My Friend John, and she actually animated a little movie. I can't find the animation. I think Barry, you might have had a copy of it at some stage, but I had a copy, but I can't find it anymore, of the business enterprise My Friend John. But we had
Can't find it either now.
yeah, we had somebody found an old poster of her. She did a series of things. She did a big backdrop for the backstage, and she did some beautiful posters as well as the sleeve, and that became the sleeve of the album. So I mean, I did some initial work on it, but then eventually Niall McCormick and she did some. That picture behind you, Eddie, is actually her new artwork, which appears on the Mission Sessions. The last song anyway is
and the t-shirts
and the t-shirts, Barry, which are available at our web at our thosenervousanimals.ie.
Yeah.
The last song on the album is "He Can't Resist a Mystery," and it's a song I'm very fond of. It's a very special song. I remember the buzz after we first recorded the demo of it in with Nicky Ryan in Eagle, and John Tobin played piano on it, and Nicky and Philip Begley came up with this idea of backwards reverb on the vocals, where this sort of sweeping in sound effect. I remember after we did it, we just were so excited about what we'd done. We drank half a bottle of wine, or 7. That was that. But we never. That was just a demo. But this is a new recording of it. And it features this group of people here, and also a couple of other helpers here and there. Nicola McKevely sings backing vocals on it, on the the top end, and then Jerry Leonard mixed it and edited it, and actually played guitar on it as well. So it's a combination of all of those things, and Tom is playing drums and some bass, subby bass as well in there, and causing trouble as usual. And,
Integral.
And Eddie's playing double bass on it. So it's, and one thing about this is that this version of it, we turned it into kind of a mixture. What happened was with this was that Barry came out. That was one of the first things that was with his vocal. He did the vocal on it, and it was a fantastic vocal. The new vocal on it was just really showed that Barry was in great form, and I loved what he did. And then Susan, you did a version of it, and that was fabulous as well. So we were left with this dilemma: how are we going to do it? So we've combined the two of you on it, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I don't know anyone other thoughts about the.
But
I mean,
say that it's a song that I heard in one of our Lindale listening sessions. Eddie played me the demo of that you did with Nicky Ryan, and it was a song that just blew me away straight away, even at that time, and it's remained possibly my favorite Animal song ever since. I think it's amazing. An amazing song.
It also has
really,
a connection. Sorry, Tom, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Corey. Sorry.
No, I mean, there's a connection there again to the Theremin project as well, because we were researching this guy Theremin, who was, it's a long story, won't go into it now, but basically he was a sort of spy come, this instrument, you may know the Theremin, that you move your hands in the air and it creates, you can pitch and notes. And he'd been an American in the 20s, and this whole romance of his adventure he'd had, but his wife was the first black ballerina, who was a woman called Lavinia Williams. Do you remember that, Eddie? We all got interested in her. And I eventually got a number for someone who knew her in Haiti. And so I rang Port-au-Prince and I had this number, and her friend spoke to me. I spoke to her about 3 times. And she taught me a poem in Voodoo, so which said, Maman Brigitte malade les couches sous dos, Paul and Pile parlever le mot. And we put that there's a little verse in respect to Lavinia Williams and Theremin in Mystery.
First it rained, then it froze. Perfect conditions for death on the road.
Never tell Brendan how the story ended. He gets his kicks in his motorbike shed into the small hours. A light bulb bare.
When he hears the sound of anger blowing thin, he trusts and springs on silly things. Watch over him. Morning storms me, they still haven't caught me. Their beds are warm, they dream on, they still dream on. These are my problems, and this is how I solve them. They're not anybody else's problems that glow in the sky like a dawn. Is it morning? dances, silver bricks rock. Bridget is sick, she lies on her back.
All the talk in the world, all the talk in the world won't raise the dead. When he hears the sound of anger growing thin, he trusts in springs and silly things. Watch over here.
So anyway, that's the album. So I hope everyone enjoys it. I'll hand back to you, Eddie, to wrap up.
No, I just I feel very satisfied myself having been involved with this, because I always felt there was unfinished business, and not saying that it's by any means still it's finished now, but because we're working on new music now, aren't we, guys?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And there's some
Hopefully-
really
hopefully so.
beautiful things happening. We just heard a new rough mix this morning that Tom sent to us of the latest work, and it's going to be great. So yeah, more to come, folks.
Yeah, working with some old collaborators.
I
as well.
must say this has been a lot of fun, and thanks everyone for being involved.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Oh, Park, stand up and show us the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, you can. The T-shirts and the album are available from thosenervousanimals.ie. You can. We are on Facebook as well. We're on Twitter, aren't we? At TNA Band.
Instagram.
And Instagram
Yeah,
at
please
Those Nervous
follow
Animals.
us and love us and come on to YouTube and give us all your subscriptions. We need you everywhere. Our fans, don't we?
Yeah,
we need
I
as
mean,
much
all these kind of
support
supports that
possible.
bands got last year with sort of subvention and we got none of that. We're doing this completely independently ourselves, and we're so appreciative of the support that people have and the positivity. So thanks everybody for
the real kind of feeling of warmth about this kind of, and we've had a lot of very supportive messages, and so thank you very much for your support, because it really,
absolutely,
it's really helped us push on with this project and encourage us.
Sorry, Tom, go ahead.
No, that's it. That's all I had to say. Thanks.
Sorry, I kept interrupting you there, Tom. I just was going to say, the other thing is that we plan to do some gigs once this awful pandemic is over, hopefully, or at least eases enough for gigs to happen. Look out for those nervous animals in your town. So
I have the Zimmer frame ordered already. So I can get
the turbo one. Yeah.
And I'm drinking. Does anybody want some? Does anybody like green tea?
Barry, does it light up? Is it neon? It looks neon.
Yeah.
I think we need to have one more costume change from Barry before we finish.
I think we do. While he's doing
definitely.
it, we can sing one of Barry's older songs that he had before Those Nervous Animals, the Lion's Green Able song.
Oh yes.
We have this one.
I wish I was able to go set the table.
And everyone comes
for
green label,
Lions green label,
Lion's green label,
Lions green label.
Okay.
I think maybe that one still needs a bit of work, lads.
I think I need something stronger than green tea at the minute now. Well, thanks everybody,
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks for
Cheers, everyone.
and we'll talk to you soon. And we'll see you. Best of luck with the editing, Porrick.
Buy the
And
record.
Eddie.
Buy the record.
Yeah.
Buy the record.
Buy the record.
Buy the record.
Yeah.
We never thanked Will Quigley, by the way. Will Quigley for the website. Thanks, Will Quigley, for the website.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
it's fucking terrifying, Barry.
BB.
BB.
The eyes of stone.
So soon. Yeah.
Deadly.
Can we have an outtake section, Porrick, at the end of the video?
Yeah, I think we need that. We're going to have to.